You know that Elvis liked them young, so I was very young.
But I was 20?
No, I was 22.
She was the woman who stayed when everyone else walked away, the one who saw Elvis Presley not as a myth, but as a man unraveling, a man no one could save, except maybe her. For years, Linda Thompson stayed silent. No interviews, no tabloids, no tell-alls. She kept the secrets of Graceland locked away, out of loyalty or maybe out of fear. But now, at 75, she's breaking her silence, and what she reveals will make you question everything you thought you knew about Elvis Presley. Because this isn't the Elvis from the movies, not the leather-clad icon, not the stadium god.
What is a man? What has he got?
This is the Elvis behind closed doors, the insomniac, the addict, the man slowly losing control of his own legend. Why did Linda stay when others ran? What did she see in those final months that still makes her voice tremble today? And what was the real reason she walked out of Graceland, knowing it might kill him? You think you've heard this story before, but you haven't, because only one woman was there, only one woman lived through the unraveling. And only now, decades later, is she ready to tell the truth. If you think you know Elvis, think again. The real story doesn't start with his rise, it starts with Linda, and it ends with a funeral. So before you click away, ask yourself this. What was Elvis so afraid of in his final weeks? Why did he keep Linda so close, even as he pushed everyone else out? And what was the one promise he made her that he broke the night he died? Stick around, because by the time this story ends, you'll understand why Linda Thompson waited 50 years to say these words, and why now she can't keep them in any longer. It was July 6th, 1972. Elvis Presley had rented out the Memphian Theater for a private film screening, something he often did when the weight of the outside world became too much. Linda Thompson was just 22, a former Miss Tennessee, polished, elegant, grounded, but also deeply Southern, not just in accent, but in spirit. And when she walked into that theater, Elvis noticed her immediately, not for her beauty, though she had that in spades, but because for the first time in a long time, he saw something he couldn't buy: normalcy. Linda didn't fawn, she didn't giggle. She looked him in the eye and asked him real questions. And that night, Elvis didn't go home alone. He went home with Linda, and for the next 4 years she would rarely leave his side. But here's what most people don't know. Linda wasn't just another girlfriend. She moved into Graceland. She became his confidant, his nurse, his guardian, his last line of defense. Because even then, something wasn't right. Elvis was only 37, but his body was failing. The pills had started. The mood swings had begun. And Linda? She was already falling in love with someone who was disappearing in front of her eyes. Why did she stay? Because, like so many women who fall for broken men, she thought she could fix him. Graceland. From the outside, it looked like a dream. Inside, it was a fortress, a padded cell lined with gold records. Linda described it as a castle with no daylight. Days and nights blurred. Elvis rarely slept. When he did, it was under the influence. Ambien, Placidol, Valium, whatever his doctor, Nick Nicopolis, prescribed. They would watch movies until dawn, then eat breakfast at 5 p.m. And for weeks, sometimes months, Linda wouldn't leave the mansion. Elvis controlled everything: who came in, who left, what time the lights were on. And Linda adapted, because to love Elvis meant entering his world, and his world was a prison with rhinestone bars. Did she ever try to leave? Yes. But every time he'd beg her back, he'd cry, he'd write letters, he'd promise he'd change, and every time she believed him, until she didn't. By 1974, Elvis was spiraling. The pills weren't occasional anymore, they were routine. His weight ballooned, his temper flared. He'd cancel shows last minute, sleep for 18 hours straight, then wake up and demand a private jet. Linda wasn't just a girlfriend anymore. She was the one who cleaned up after him, the one who called the doctors when he collapsed, the one who flushed pills down the toilet, only to find more the next day. And yet, when the cameras rolled, he was Elvis again, the king, the showman. He could turn it on with the flip of a switch. But Linda saw the cost. The man who had once moved like liquid lightning now winced when he bent over. The voice that had seduced the world was now cracking under pressure. And the smile? That famous Elvis smile? It started to vanish, and every time Linda tried to help, he pushed her further away. In late 1975, Linda walked in on Elvis unconscious on the bathroom floor. Not the first time, but this time it was different. She'd warned his doctor. She'd begged the staff to stop enabling him. But nothing changed. Elvis was now dependent on prescription cocktails, a lethal mix of sedatives, painkillers, and stimulants, and Linda knew if she stayed, he would never get better. So she gave him an ultimatum: get help, or I go. And for the first time, Elvis didn't fight her. He just stared at her, silently, as if he knew he'd already lost. In December of 1976, Linda Thompson packed her bags and walked out of Graceland. She didn't slam the door. She didn't tell the press. She just left. And Elvis? He replaced her within weeks. But according to Linda, he never let her go. In the months that followed, they spoke only twice. Once when she sent him a letter through a friend, urging him to take care of his health. He never replied. And once when he called her after a late-night show, slurring his words, telling her he missed her, asking if she remembered the way it used to be. Linda didn't know it then, but that would be the last time she ever heard his voice, because 8 months later, on August 16, 1977, she got the call. Elvis Presley was dead. Linda was at home in Los Angeles when her phone rang. It was a friend from Memphis. There had been a medical emergency. Elvis had collapsed in his bathroom. By the time paramedics arrived, he was gone. Cardiac arrhythmia, they said. But Linda didn't need a coroner's report. She already knew what killed him. Years of pain, years of denial, years of yes men and silent enablers, and above all, the pills. She collapsed on the floor, not just from grief, but from guilt, because part of her still wondered, if she had stayed, would he still be alive? For years, Linda refused to speak publicly. She turned down interviews, she rejected book deals, she even declined offers from biographers and documentaries. She didn't want to profit from pain, she didn't want to rewrite history, she just wanted peace. But turning 75 changes a person. You look back, you take stock, and you realize if you don't tell the truth now, someone else will do it for you. So Linda started writing, and what she revealed wasn't scandalous. It wasn't tabloid. It was personal. She wrote about the night Elvis sobbed in her arms after his mother's birthday, about the way he clutched his Bible before shows, about how fame turned the sweetest man she ever knew into a stranger. She didn't write to expose him. She wrote to humanize him. Because to Linda, Elvis wasn't the king. He was a man drowning in a crown he never asked for. Today, Linda Thompson lives a quiet life. She's a mother, a poet, a survivor. She's written songs that have won awards, but the one story she never stopped carrying was Elvis's. She doesn't blame him. She doesn't hate him. She still loves him, in a way only she can. But she also forgives herself, because loving someone isn't always enough to save them, especially when they don't want to be saved. And if there's one thing Linda wants the world to know, it's this. Elvis Presley wasn't just a legend. He was a man who hurt, a man who feared, a man who loved deeply, recklessly, and with everything he had left. And in the end, it wasn't the fame, it wasn't the fortune, it wasn't even the pills, it was the loneliness. That's what killed Elvis. And Linda Thompson? She was the last one who truly saw it coming.